What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video we have the 2023, the all-new Nissan Z. This is going to be more of a mechanical type of video to see what is underneath this car. So we're going to pop the trunk, kind of take it apart to see what is underneath the trunk, pop the hood, look at the engine, see kind of what it looks like underneath, and then lift the car up to see about the exhaust system, how that's all configured, as well as the suspension. I'm really curious because this is a car that many owners like myself are going to modify, and I'm really interested to see kind of how this car is designed to know what I want to upgrade as I take delivery of my own car. So let's first get right into the trunk now. So of course we have our button back here. We'll pop it up. So first thing, we have a carpeted trunk liner. We'll set that aside. Next up, we have another carpeted trunk liner, the exact same as the 370Z. So we have those two. Third, we have this plastic piece now. We'll get that out of the way. So it looks like we don't get a spare tire. The 370 had one. So it looks like it'll come with a mobility kit, something with a compressor. So no more spare tire, but you get that. We have our tow hook for front and rear. And then this is really cool. So we get the Bose audio. We're looking at a Performance Z, so that has all the options. So if we take this screw out, which might take us a year or two. All right, that was a very long time. So we have the Bose subwoofer, which this is how it was like in the 370Z. Pretty neat how it's set up to give you that bass in the back of the car. You can unplug it right there, and it's got a handle on it. So just really neat the way Nissan has always done it for this car. And then if we get this more out of the way, we have a foam piece in here that looks like, let's see. Okay, we have this piece of plastic. We'll take that out. And then if we take this foam piece out, it's really just more styrofoam. We have a spot on this left side, it looks like for the stand to lift up the car. And these probably pop out. So that's it, no spare tire in the new Z, but kind of what I was expecting. And then up front, I believe this foam piece comes out as well. Nothing really under it, it's kind of stuck in there with the plastic. All right, that's the trunk of the Z. Let's move on to the engine. All right, so normal hood release, just like the 370. I do like on this, there's just a nice little handle, really easy to get to. You just lift this up, so it's a little bit easier. We still have a prop rod. So here it is. We got a 3-liter twin turbo V6. So engine cover, looks like there's 3 bolts that'll hold it down. If you look over here, looks like we have top mount heat exchangers for the intercooler right here. So I don't think it's going to have a front mount intercooler like some turbo cars. It's kind of set up even like some BMWs and even the Supra. Let's see down below. Yeah. So looks like there's no intercooler down here. It's all just radiators. Yeah. So that's how it's set up. That'll be interesting to see with the aftermarket how they upgrade the cooling and the efficiency with this car. These look identical to the Zs and GTRs, just normal pieces. We have our sensors in there and a duct going in here. So it is a cold air intake factory, which is a really good touch to see. The intake tubes and everything, they are pretty tight in there. Doing a new intake is gonna be a tight spot to find. Like, that's gonna be interesting upgrading the air intakes on this car. Let's see if this one's any different. Yeah, so if you get closer, let me grab the camera. So we got the filter box, and then under there, I don't think it's gonna focus in there, but the pipe is right under there, and then it goes up to here into this heat exchanger right there, and then obviously into the engine, into the manifold back there. So that's about it for the engine. That's kind of what it looks like. So to jack up the Z, there's a lot of subframing under it, and we can get it pretty high with my nice new jack. But that should be, I think, about good. And then there are plenty of spots for jack stands with the subframe and everything. Judging by my 370, that's about what I would do on the old car. All right, and that one's right underneath the subframe as well. So with the Z now up on the jack stand, one thing I will notice, there's a ton of droop in the tires. So there's definitely a lot of travel in the front and rear suspension. But let's check out underneath the car and see what the underbody's looking like for suspension and exhaust. So of course, there right there is the transmission, the pan underneath it. It's a plastic material actually. Interesting way to have, I guess, the oil pan. Maybe that's the drain plug right there. We can see the drive shaft coming beneath it, and that is a carbon fiber composite, just like on the previous cars and with the GTR. And then we have this huge aluminum under brace piece for the front subframe, really similar with the 370. And then there is a cooler, looks like, right there. So for the exhaust, your downpipes, hard to really see, but they come up quite a way, so it might be a little bit hard to completely disconnect them from the turbos. And then it comes here, so this is all heat shielding. So at least right there would be our catback, these two pipes. So these two flanges right there is where it would be the catback. So coming down these two pipes, let's take a look at their diameter. Looking at it with the tape measure, I'd say it's just under 2 inches, maybe 1.75 inches for diameter for these pipes. And then it goes into one pipe. So the dual turbos go into one. This might be 2.5, it's kind of looking like. Does that look about right, Mike?
It's hard to see from here.
Yeah.
It looks like it's shy of 2 from this angle.
Yeah, so maybe 2.5, not quite 3. So that split is right there where it connects into one. And then there are 2 resonators leading towards this back end. And then we have our muffler bolts right there and right there. So it looks really similar configured compared to the 370. Here's the weird part. This is the muffler. It is one pipe. However, when you look at it, exhaust flow comes through here, and it's kind of like a T shape to where half of it's just going to go straight through here. The other half is just going to straight through here to the exhaust tip. So really interesting how it works. This is almost like a sound chamber rather than a muffler. You can see same thing on the other side. Really interesting. It does say Nissan on it. However, there's a logo back here. It's hard to read. So getting a closer look at the name. So it looks like it says Tenneco, T-E-N-N-E-C-O. I don't think I've actually ever heard of that name. So interesting what Nissan's done for the muffler on the car, but that's our muffler. So I wonder what it'll be like doing a muffler delete, the short tails, which is what I did on my 370s. So that's our muffler. And then suspension looks just like the 370. You have the cradle down here for your spring, and then the strut goes all the way up top. And since the trunk is the same, it's gonna be the same design. But then under here, this looks like my Nismo. You have these 2 bolts and this whole bracket system behind the differential. And then that bar goes all the way up to the front where that jack stand is. So it looks like this almost has the same type of chassis bracing that the Nismo had. I can't quite remember what the normal Z had back in the day. But then we have a rear differential, and that is cast material, so it is metal on the underside rather than plastic like we saw on the engine. But there's the rear, and then I guess last thing, let's check out the front struts to see what we can see. From here, it does look like it's the same as the 370, so it should be a pretty simple setup. We have an under tray here. Looks like a little bit of heat can come out of there from where all the radiators are. But we have that skid plate. You can see that, the sway bar, strut going all the way up. So yeah, there is the underneath. And looking at the brakes, the Akebono brakes, I would assume they are exactly the same as what we had on the 370 Sports and the Nismo. All right, bringing the Z back down. Looks like there's really easy jack points on the front and the rear. Basically just looking at the suspension itself, you just grab it by the subframes. But there's the underside of the all-new Nissan Z. I don't think I've really seen any videos showing this. Me, when I get my car, I'm gonna be doing full exhaust system, upgrade the intakes, upgrade, I guess, somehow the intercooler, maybe if it needs it, do tuning, flex fuel, pretty much everything I've done on the GTR, I wanna do on this car. And it's interesting to see how the stock configuration is all designed. It looks like a 370Z under there, maybe more on the Nismo side, I think. It looks like it has extra things to it to make it a little bit more stable. The exhaust is interesting looking. I'll definitely want to do a full dual exhaust, and that muffler, I wonder what it sounds like without that muffler, because I don't know, it seems like a really small muffler. But anyways, there's a good underneath look at the new Z to kind of see what it looks like. For all of you who really like the mechanics of cars, for those of you who are going to be designing and developing aftermarket parts, hopefully that gets you a good insight as to what this car looks like on the underside for you to start developing products. But that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.